Thank Good morning, everyone. Good morning. If everybody can hear the sound of my voice, please just give me a thumbs up or just give me a yes in the chat so that I can know that we are ready to go. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. I see the answers. Thank you so much. Welcome to another edition of the Department of Inland Revenue's virtual series. Today we're speaking about real property tax. So under real property tax, we're going to speak about payments, we're going to speak about deadlines, discounts, calculations, the categories of housing and properties that everybody needs to know. We have one presentation today, and that is going to be made by Miss Violet Brown. We have her staff and a host of persons that are in the chat as well, and that of Jasmine Sweeting, Jada Sweeting. I think we have Orchid Bain on the line as well to answer any questions that you guys will have. So just a bit of housekeeping. While she's doing a presentation, if you have any questions regarding what she is saying, please drop them in the chat. And that goes for those of us who are on Zoom. And officially, we'd love to welcome everybody watching us on YouTube. Drop your questions in the chat and we will have them answered live. Or someone who's in the chat, one of Ms. Brown's staff, will answer them in the chat directly. Once she is done with her presentation, we will open the floor and allow her to answer the questions live and over the air. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. And I'm going to ask Ms. Violet Brown, kindly cut on your camera so that we can see you and we can get your presentation started. Let's welcome Ms. Violet Brown, everyone, who's going to do a presentation on real property tax.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay. All right, this morning, as mentioned, we're going to be talking about real property tax and payments, discounts that is available. As we all know, for real property tax, all payments are due by March 31st, 2025. If you wish to take advantage of the 10% discount, that is also, the deadline is also March 31st, 2025. The 10% discount is only on the current year's tax. That means if you have arrears, the 10% discount will not be on those years. It will be only on the current year. Also available is the pensioners discount. The pensioners discount is only, however, on properties that are owner occupied, meaning the property is in your name and you are the owner and you reside at that property. You will be given your exemption of $300,000. The pensioners discount is only up to $1 million. And it's only reserved for Bahamians. The pensioner discount is not automatic. It has to be applied for every year. Just how you, as a Bahamian citizen, as a pensioner, you have to verify with NIB. You have to come in and make application for that discount. If you are unable to come in for that discount, we know we have persons who may be living and they may not be capable because of health challenges. We do ask that those forms be notarized in order to be received by the department. If you are a pensioner and married to a non-Bahamian, you will be eligible for 25% discount. If you are a pensioner and you are a joint owner with your child or your children, again, you will only be eligible for a 25% discount. So in addition to the pensioners discount, you will also get the 10% discount once the payment is made on or by March 31st, 2025. Payments. Payments can be made via our portal, and that portal is propertytax.gov.bs. Let me see if I can share that with you for a minute. Oh gosh, it's so many screens I have open. Okay, there we go. All right, so here, this is where you will go to register to make payments on the portal. If you have not registered before, you will click New User Registration, and you will begin the registration. Name on assessment will be the name as it is on our tax roll. The property assessment number, you can get that number from your tax bill or a tax certificate, which I will show you. The grid reference will also be on the tax bill or the tax certificate. The full name, again, will be as above. The owner type will be individual. The country will be where I reside. Government ID type, you have NIB, TIN if it's a business. Non-Bahamian will select not applicable. And in government ID type, if you selected any of those, you will put that number. If you selected not applicable, nothing will go in that box. Your email address, you will confirm that information, your cell phone number without any dashes. Your password, which states that it must be at least 8 characters. It must include an uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. And once you've confirmed that password, you will click register. Upon clicking register, you will get a notification letting you know that a verification email has been sent to your inbox. You will have to go to your inbox to confirm your registration. That link is only good for 1 hour. So if you are not ready to go ahead with making that payment or completing the registration, I will say wait until you are, because after 1 hour, that link is no longer available to you. You will have to go through the registration process again to have that email activated. Let me share the tax certificate or a tax bill.
While Ms. Brown is getting that screen up, we want to remind persons also there are other payment methods for real property tax, and you can find all those methods on our website. inlandrevenue.finance.gov.bs. You go to the real property tax tab and slide down to payment RPT. So you can visit the bank. You can also pay here at the department. And of course, as she said, you can go through the RPT portal that she showed you. There's also an additional portal called the DigiPay portal. That's payment.revenue.gov.bs/RPT, which takes a few days longer to process, but it is an option for those persons that would like to go that route.
John, why is it not coming?
All right. A reminder, folks, that we are cashless here at the Department of Inland Revenue. We take credit or debit card or checks. Ms. Brown, are you good to go? No. Of course, guys, as you know, with technology, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So we're just gonna bear with Ms. Brown as she tries to get her screen going.
All right.
If you have any questions,
I wanted to show the tax bill or the tax certificate to show where they can get the assessment number and the grid reference.
you may need to change your screen, stop sharing, and then try to share again once you get it open.
Okay, let's try it.
Let's try that. Folks, you're reminded to drop your questions in the chat, those on YouTube and those on the Zoom. Feel free, now's the time to ask your questions about real property tax. If you have any additional questions about the department, whether it's business license, VAT, first home or VAT stamp, feel free to drop those questions in the chat as well. But leave your email and we will send an answer to you or some form of contact so that we can get the answer to you. Today's session is primarily focused on real property tax.
All right, so I have up on the screen a tax bill, my tax bill. If you look to the right, here is the assessment number. This assessment number you will put on, if you're making the check, a payment made via check, if you're doing a wire transfer, online,
Ms.
or
Brown,
at the bank.
sorry, Ms. Brown. Sorry, Ms. Brown, we're only seeing your download folder. That's the only thing we're seeing on the screen. Your download.
So you're not seeing the bill?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I stop sharing. Let's go back again. Here. Are we seeing the bill?
Yes, we're good to go now.
Okay. Here on the right is the assessment number, like I mentioned. If you are paying through our portal, the governmentpropertytax.gov.bs, you will need this assessment number. If you're paying via DigiPay, it's also going to ask you for this assessment number. If you're making wire transfers, it's also important that you include the assessment number. For the property tax portal that I showed you a few minutes ago, this grid reference here is what you will need, and this is very important. So I will go through this grid reference. It asks for island. So 01, which represents New Providence. 6170 is the map. 605 is the grid, the block, sorry. The parcel is 010. Every other box, you don't put no dash, even though there are dashes here, but this 07 represents the phase. So I will have to include all of this in order for that registration to be accepted. On this bill, you will notice it has the land and the improvement values that give us a total value of what my property is valued at. This value falls under the threshold of 300,000. So this property is exempted from real property tax. As you can see, there's no tax amount shown on the bill. If this value was more than 300,000, you would have seen the total value here. You would have seen the exemption amount of 300,000, and whatever the difference over that 300,000, you would have seen it's showing you as the taxable amount. This type of property is called owner occupied, meaning this is my home, this is where I reside, so I'm entitled to my exemption. There are 4 classes, the way we tax real property tax, which is owner occupied as mentioned. We have the commercial, we have residential, which is reserved for Bahamians only. And then we have vacant land, which is for non-Bahamians. As you know, Bahamians do not pay real property tax on the family islands yet. Let me go to a new share. Sorry, stop sharing. As mentioned by Mr. Williams, the other form of payment is DigiPay. DigiPay also asks you for your assessment number. Close that. Payments can also be made at any RBC. If you go into the branches, you can make payment there. Again, also to include the assessment number. If you are making checks, we receive manager's checks. The checks are to be made payable to the public treasury. And again, it's important to include assessment numbers on the checks. Do we have any questions so far?
As long as your presentation is done, Ms. Brown, we can go into questions. Are we good to go? We're good to go, Ms. Brown?
As it stands now, as it relates to payment and discount, yes.
All right. I mean, we're gonna ask any questions at the end, or any other information you would like to provide for persons with regard to real property tax, maybe categories, or anything of that nature.
We talked about the different categories, which is owner-occupied, residential, commercial, vacant land. I've mentioned those already. Okay. Again, like I said, vacant land, it is taxable for non-Bahamians, whether it's New Providence or on the Family Islands. Residential properties will be those properties for Bahamians where if it's 5 units and or more, or let's say they own more than one property per se. If they own more than one property, then the second property is residential because you only allowed exemption on one property. You may have someone who would have owned a property in Yellow Elder Gardens and they still have that property today. A family member may be residing in it, but the property is still registered in their names. You are unable to receive exemption on that property, even though the value is under $300,000. Your exemption then will be on the property where you reside. So this second property that is in your name will be classified as residential and it is taxable. I see a question asked, what is the tax certificate? A tax certificate is a document issued by the department in lieu of the tax bill. If you don't get a tax bill and you come into the department and you're requiring a printout, we issue a tax certificate. That tax certificate is usually sent to law firms, sent to the banks, or the taxpayers walking into the office. requiring a property tax status.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Brown. I see you've started our question and answer segment. You love to talk, we know that. Thank you so much. So let's get into that. And thank you for your presentation as well. So let's start with some of these questions. We have a question here that says, and I don't think this was answered yet in the chat, how can corrections be made to the information on the bill? That is, if the name is spelled incorrectly or there's an address change. Also, how to apply for a change of owner. Property has been sold.
All right, so a property that has been sold, you will go on the department website, which is inlandrevenue.finance.gov.bs. You go to the property tax tab, scroll down, and you will see property tax submission. And you will submit your documents through that portal. All of the forms that are required is there, the declaration form, the affirmation form, the customer detail form, all of that is there. And in addition to those forms, you will also be sending us your conveyance, a copy of your passport. If you have the new passport, your national insurance number will be in that. But if it's not, then we ask that you submit your NIB card. If the property is registered in a company name, we do ask that you provide us with the certificate of incumbency and not just that front page. The certificate of incumbency has an additional page that shows the shareholders of the company. The shareholders of the company are the owners of the company, and we do ask you to provide us with the passports of those shareholders.
Thank you. Going into another set of questions. Okay, I think you answered that already. What is the assessment number? Where can I find the assessment number on my bill? And how do I get an assessment number?
Okay, I would have showed that earlier. The assessment number is to the right. It's on your tax bill. Your name will be on the left. To the right would be your assessment number. If you are a property owner and you've never received a tax bill from us, or you're not sure if you have an assessment number, we do ask that you come in or you contact us and we can go from there.
Okay, great. Another question that's coming in. Do I pay property tax, or what value should I be paying property tax?
Again, it all depends on the usage of that property. If the property is your home and the value is more than 300,000, sorry, the property is taxable. If the value is under 300,000 as your home, the property is exempted from real property tax.
And do I pay property tax on the family island?
No, not at this time.
Okay, next question we have. How do I declare my property? I was advised that I must declare my property in order to have it in my name.
Again, we say go to our Inland Revenue website. To declare your property, you would go to the property tax tab. You would scroll down where it says forms. And in that form at the very bottom, you will see declaration submission. That is where you declare your property.
Okay, next question coming in. When is real property tax due every year? And are there payment plans?
Real property tax payments are due by March 31st of the current year. Payment plans is currently available right now for properties that are not mortgaged.
Okay, great. We have another question coming in. Is VAT charged on real property tax?
No, ma'am. Not at this. No, not at this time.
Okay, we're keeping the questions rolling in, trying to keep up with them. I see Miss Sweeting and Miss Bain are answering questions in the chat. Thank you guys so much for that. If I own a property and I live on the bottom and I rent the top, how is that calculated and what real property tax be issued?
If they live at the bottom and they rent the top, we do a value of the entire building. Remember, property tax is inclusive of the building and any improvements that is done to the land. All of that makes up the real property tax value. We then, if top and bottom is the same size, we then half of that will be exempted and the other half will then be taxable. That property will be considered multi-purpose because its usage is more than one purpose, your home and your rental.
Okay, great. And I just want to, is there a plan? I'm not sure if Ms. Brown can answer this, but I think Ms. Sweeting already answered. But the question was, is there a plan by the government to tax Family Island properties?
Unfortunately, I can't say, but that's why I said at this time for Bahamians, it is not taxable yet.
Okay, thank you so much. Folks, we want to remind you to keep your questions rolling in. No question is a silly question. Please answer, send it in. Also, if you have any questions about any other aspect of the department, please drop it in along with your email so that we can get it answered. And you never know, if we're done, we may answer a few of your business license questions as well. Keep those questions rolling in. I think we're doing well right now. Just looking forward, check my phone, see how we're going. How does mortgage houses work along with real property tax? Because the bank has contacted me about making a payment for my real property tax and having it attached to my mortgage. What is that all about?
Remember, the bank is asking you to pay your real property tax. If you don't pay your real property tax, the bank will be making those payments for you. As the lending institution of or the mortgagee of that property, the bank just wants to make sure you are compliant with the department. Note that if you are done paying your mortgage and there's real property tax outstanding, you are unable to get satisfaction from the bank unless the government taxes are paid.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Just checking YouTube, see another question here. Can you explain this process? Registered agents are required to complete the declaration form for applicable companies, specifically those registered under the Companies Act, International Business Companies Act. We may have, I
We may have
think
to
it's,
get back to that one.
yeah, Mr. Diaz, I'm not sure. Kindly drop your email in the Zoom, in the YouTube, and we will have that question answered for you. Are we on Zoom, guys? All right, I just want to read some of these questions that were being
I
asked
think
on
I saw a
Zoom.
question where someone had asked, how do they do a change if they have been divorced? Remember, if you've been divorced and the court has granted you the owner of that home, we do ask that you provide us with that court order. We don't just make changes to a property without legal document.
Okay, great. And we are somewhat winding down, I see, because all of our questions are being answered. I'm imploring everybody that is watching on YouTube and on the Zoom to please drop your questions in. Now is the time to ask while we have our real property tax subject matter experts on, so that they can answer any questions that you have. When to pay your bill, how much your bill is. That is a question, Ms. Brown. When should I be getting my new real property tax bill?
The 25 bills have already been issued. They became available as of October 17th, 2024. They've already been issued. So if they have not received their bill, they can request a copy of their bill.
Okay, great. And I see another question here. How can I avoid how can I avoid my property being listed on the power of sale list?
Pay your real property tax.
Yes, just as a bit of information, power of sale really targets persons who are in arrears for a number of years. And just a point of information, if you live on a property, we cannot sell your property. So it's really targeted to commercial properties and vacant land. Okay. And another question, my bill is not showing on my online portal. Why isn't it there?
It could be a number of reasons. They can contact any one of the staff members or myself, and we will take a look and see why it's not there. I don't, it could be, let's say, maybe prior years, prior to 2023, when the exemption was increased. The property could have been taxable if it's your owner occupied property where you live. Let's say the value is 290,000. Prior to 2023, that property was taxable. But as of 2023, that property is no longer taxable. So I don't know if that is the reason, but contact us so we can take a look and give you further information as to why you're not seeing it on the portal.
Okay, great. We have another question. Um, is a TIN required when renting to the government? I think the short answer to that is yes, a TIN is required. And for those who not sure what a TIN is, it's your tax identification number. All right, we're winding down. Ms. Brown, I think we have maybe one or two more questions. No, they have been answered. Okay. Will the value of my property, sorry, will my value ever change on my property?
Yes, it will. We would have done a reassessment exercise of New Providence for 2022, which means come 2027, the island of New Providence is due for a reassessment exercise again. Your value may go up as well as may go down. It all depends on what we meet there when we do the reassessment.
All right, thank you so much. I think that was our final question. Do we have any questions? No, they're telling me no questions on YouTube either. So just another point of information, reminder that our website is inlandrevenue.finance.gov.bs. Everything that Ms. Brown would have said is supported on that website and under the Real Property Tax Act. You can find it under the Real Property Tax tab, Real Property Tax Law, I think it is, or Legal, sorry, RPT Legal. You can also find all the forms under that same tab. Frequently asked questions as well under that same tab for any information that you would need. We want to remind you the ways to pay can be found there as well at RBC via the RBT portal, the DigiPay portal, and directly here at the department. So if there are no further questions, okay, one last question before we finally close. Is there a scale within the department in the reassessment exercise? And also, how do you determine the value during your assessment?
All right. We have assessors who go out and they conduct assessment. They do measurements. And remember, like I said, the value of your land and any improvements done on that property makes up the value of that property for tax purposes. So if you have driveways, a wall, garages, all of that adds value to your property. Pool, all of that adds value to your property. And then depending on the area, different areas carry different rates.
Yes, and just to piggyback on the question about assessments, if I don't agree with the Department of Inland Revenue's assessment, can I object, and
Yes.
what are the steps?
Yes, you can. When those bills, like I said, we send out bills October in the current year for the ensuing year that's coming. Once those bills have been received, the bills, you have a 3-month deadline, again, which is March 31st, to submit your objection. The inquiry form is also on our website for you to fill out and complete, and you can submit it through the propertytaxinquiries.gov.bs.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. And yes, everything that Ms. Brown has said can be found on the website, as I said, under real property tax. I see someone asking, is there a scheduled session for business licenses? Yes, I think we're going to come back around to business license one more time before we end in January. But if you go to our YouTube page, you'll find the presentations right there, DIR Bahamas. You will find the link, and you can rewatch all of our sessions that we've had on business license and value-added tax, including this one with Ms. Brown on real property tax. So, Ms. Brown, we want to thank you. We just want to also note that your eyes are very beautiful during this presentation. I did not know that your eyes were yellow, but we thank you for this presentation today. Thank you to your staff for answering the questions in the chat. We're going to leave the live open for a minute so that you can leave your emails, because I know you guys may have additional questions as we are closing, whether it be about real property tax, business license, or VAT. Please, once you ask your questions, leave contact information for us so that once we get the answer, we can reach out to you. Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Thank you to your team that's online as well, answering the questions. Thank you to everybody joining us, and we pray that you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.